Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the world famous podcast, Beat the Press. Myself, Ty, we've obviously got Kristian with us as well. If this is your sort of thing and you want to listen to what we've been talking about for the last, must be about 8 months, please like and subscribe at the bottom. All my mates will keep banging on about sharing. Please do it. When we're rich and famous, we will remember you, okay? Anyway, that's all the stuff that Chris gives me bollocking for at the start. The main thing why we're here, obviously, breaking news today, Frankie Lampard has gone. So, right or wrong decision? Chris, straight off the bat to you. Talk to me.
I want to say that for Chelsea, it's the right decision. For football in general and every other club, it's probably not the right decision. I think generally managers deserve more time, especially with the amount that they spent. I just think maybe should have been given a little bit longer. But with it being Chelsea, we all know. With it being Chelsea, you all right?
Yeah, all right.
With it being Chelsea, we all know that their managers don't get enough time. I think it's all dependent on the clubs, the style of the chairman that each individual club has. They all have different ambitions, and if you think of the Glazers, the Kroenkes of the world, Mike Ashley, and some would say the FSGs, they are all content as long as it's commercially viable, as long as the club set up in a good way. They're happy for things to take over. But when you've got the likes of the Mansours and obviously Abramovich, they've already got enough money. They don't need anything else. What they want is, they want success, clout. They want bragging rights, in the world. So it was always going to happen.
Yeah, no, I think, I mean, that's a really good point. I didn't actually think of it. I was looking at it as on the football side. You talk about right decision to get him, get rid of him. We know how Chelsea operate over the last 20 years. If even successful managers that have won the Premier League and Champions League have got in. So Lampard's done nothing. He's got them qualified for Champions League, but that's about it. And now they've spent a gazillion and not a lot's happening. The interesting point you made there was about the Man City and Chelsea, and they are the two clubs that you look at and you go, the owners, they don't care about how much profit. Like Liverpool owners are obviously now struggling with deciding whether they should deviate from their sort of recruitment strategy and whether they should spend money on a centre half. But like Man City and Chelsea, Man City will just go bank, spend 60 million, get the centre half in or whatever. Chelsea will do the same. There's a gap, they'll go and do it. Chelsea, I read a bit on Athletic today. The Athletic, brilliant. And we don't get any sort of commission for it all, but a cracking bit of journalism.
Get in touch with us if you want to give us a commission.
They were on about there's been sort of rumblings and issues behind the scenes for a while. Lampard's not worked well with sort of people, the hierarchy, and some of the players aren't happy with him, and they weren't working together. So whenever the murmurings go on like that, it's always going to go. It's not great. Do you know what I mean? So it was almost like writing was on the wall. The fact they've got Thomas Tuchel on the same day, it's not something they've just suddenly
thought it's not coincidence.
About. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the way Chelsea and Abramovich works is they've always got a plan behind. They're going to get rid of someone, but someone else is coming in. Because I can't remember the last time Chelsea sacked a manager and then they were waiting ages for another one. I mean, if they're ever struggling, they give Gus Hiddink in, don't they? And he just sort of comes in.
I'll get Rafa on the phone. He's available now,
Yeah, they just come in and for them, it obviously helps that Thomas Tuchel's been sacked by PSG and he's gone there. But talking about Lampard, do you think? I mean, he's obviously been sacked. Do you think he was the right person to go to Chelsea? Did they make the right appointment at the time?
No. Yeah, that's exactly the right question. Whilst I don't think he should have been sacked, I don't think he should have been appointed. You just don't go from Derby like you don't even go straight to Derby, in my opinion, and then going from Derby to Chelsea. It's like working at McDonald's. You're the world's best burger flipper, and then all of a sudden you run a McDonald's the next week. That shit just doesn't happen. Go and get some experience at fucking Little Chef or. Burger King, and then come back. It just doesn't happen. And I think the appointment was made on sentiment, and a lot of them are made these days upon reputation. I feel really sorry for all of the coaches out there who who went through the badges, through the levels, and then eventually, they get nowhere because maybe they've had one bad stint out of the club. Whereas Lampard just gets the job immediately. In reality, he should have had another 10 years, 10, 15 years, working his way through the pyramid and then eventually getting his shot at Chelsea. And now maybe he's blew it forever,
I think, yeah, I can't disagree with anything you've said there. The really interesting point you mentioned was about reputation. Now, the reputation isn't as a manager, it's as a player. We sort of, we had a little chat. We don't normally do it, but we had a little chat and we thought, do you know what we'll do? We'll tag on at this. How many great managers, how many great players have turned into great managers? There's probably a handful, and hundreds have tried. So the fact you're talking about reputations of players, two different things. You don't, because you're a brilliant player, you need to understand the game. Naturally, players can play the game just off instinct and just natural ability. Whereas as a manager and coach, it's like, this is so much more you've got to do. And then getting that opportunity, and getting opportunity firstly at Derby, which is a big club. Wayne Rooney's obviously got it again at Derby now as well. And then getting, what was he there for a year and a half, and then bang, he didn't even get him up. He didn't even get him promoted.
Well, that's the thing with it. He went from sixth to sixth. That's yeah. And
then obviously he's in for Chelsea. Chelsea are one of the biggest teams in the world, and it's not the argument to give it to him at the time was they had a transfer ban, didn't they? So they had to just work with the academy kids, and it's like we might as well just give it a Lampard and see how it goes. And he's done fine. And then they gave him. It's like from getting nothing to getting like what, $250 million to spend. It's just like what are you thinking? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I know what they're thinking. It's Abramovich, it's like okay. But yeah, no, I absolutely. And then the bit about managers who sort of work their way up and don't even get an opportunity because these top players continually have the right contacts, have the right network. I bet his dad and his uncle certainly played a part as well, didn't they? Do you know what I mean?
100%.
It's you've got Paul Ince, who started off at Macclesfield. He's actually worked his way through. When he's had knockbacks, and he's not going to get another chance. It's almost like there's a certain type of player like Lampard, Gerrard to a certain extent. I mean, to be fair, Gerrard, he did go and coach the under-18s at Liverpool for a while. Then he's gone to Rangers, and it's a weaker league, obviously, but he's got Rangers now to where Rangers fans feel they rightly should be, which is top of the league. But we're struggling for like top players that have turned into top managers. But yeah, I agree. I like you, I absolutely agree. I think they made the cock up was importing him at the beginning. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think a lot of these owners do employ these top players purely through sentiment, and then they don't have a plan beyond the initial few months that they're going to be in. I think they see him as a stopgap. I don't think Abramovich ever thought of Lampard as being the long-term manager at Chelsea. I think he just thought, who's going to appease the fans while this band's going on, who's going to bring out the best, who's going to give us a little bit of a lift, give everybody at the club a little bit of lift while there's doom and gloom, and then once that band lifts, we'll get in like a top draw manager. And I think that was the same with Solskjaer. So Solskjaer, again, I'd never ever, no one imagined that he was going to be the Man United manager this long. Again, he was brought in just to give everybody a little bit of a lift, stopgap, new manager. Now, just because they've done initially quite well, everybody's got behind them, and that was bound to happen. But as soon as like you or me could go into a club tomorrow, fresh face, and you get a lift, the players want to like prove to the manager. But it's when that going gets tough, that's when you start realizing the quality of a manager. Because as Jamie Carragher said, I think it was last week, where he's saying you've not got a great deal to fall back upon. Again, you think of Solskjaer, Solskjaer's kind of made his way through, but we'll talk on why he's slightly different, and maybe not so much in a sec. But you've got the likes of Stevie. Stevie's not actually came up against anything really hard at the moment. It's kind of been good times. As soon as it starts turning bad, if they're going to drop down the table, that's when you're going to start getting questions. I hate to say it because Zidane's absolutely amazing. He won 3 titles in a row, but then things went tits up, and then he got took out of the firing line. And then now obviously he's come back in. He's a stronger manager for it. So I just think that they're not necessarily there for the long term, and I don't think it was the right appointment at the time. And I think it was even worse decision keeping him on longer than they needed to.
No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the bit that's really pissed me off today, I say pissed me off, just like, probably the wrong word, it is the wrong word, is the reaction from so-called pundits, saying, oh, I need more time. Like, are you stupid? Have you watched any football in the last sort of 20 years since Abramovich has been in charge? When has a manager ever been given time? And when has a rookie manager ever been given time? You can see where it's going. We're talking about, you can talk about Solskjaer, and he's there because of the owners, and it's Man United. They're obviously, that you mentioned, as long as the club's making money, they're fine. If he was at Chelsea, he'd have been gone the first time it went, there was a slight dip. It's not rocket science. It's person going on and saying, oh, I don't know what he's got. I'm like, Mercer's a shit pundit anyway. But then him going, oh yeah, I can't believe he's got rid of Lampard. He's got to give him chances. Like, watch, is that his chance? It's a quarter of $1 billion, and the players they're not going to play for him. It's just gone downhill. I mean, yes, you can argue you can have more time, but the biggest thing is, who's your owner? Which club are you at? It's not, you're not at Man United where you're going to get time. It's just not that. It's the makeup of the club. It's the way the club operates.
Well, I've heard that argument today, and about Solskjaer. Like, you give him a little bit of time and look where he is now. In reality, there's one reason why Solskjaer is still in a job, and that's Bruno Fernandes. That is the only reason he is in a job. He's brought in Bruno Fernandes and he's hit the ground running. Now, like, if you even think a few weeks back, he was getting the sack, and then they managed to pull out a couple of results. And like we called him like a slot machine manager, just hitting the jackpot every time. And if you think of, like, if Werner had hit the ground running, if Havertz had hit the ground running, we wouldn't be talking about Frank Lampard today. So I just think he's got a little bit lucky with Bruno. Again, he's pretty much followed the same path as what Frank Lampard has. What was he at the club in Norway?
Yeah, Molde and Cardiff, wasn't it? He was at Cardiff.
And then Cardiff, where it was no great success. Frank Lampard, if anything, had more success by keeping them at the same level. So, don't be fooled by Solskjaer. I don't think anyone other than some United fans are fooled by him. A lot of my mates who are Man United fans still not convinced by him. I think, when it comes to the biggest tactical battles and when it comes later in the season, you'll find out more about him. But again, this is not about him. But you again, going back to the managers that, make, like, we look at the league at the moment, you've got, top teams, Guardiola, Klopp, Ancelotti, Mourinho, even Rodgers. And even that sometimes isn't even enough. You think of the likes of, what was the manager? Van Gaal, Emery, Pochettino. Frank's not on those levels. Like,
no.
Then you think of, the Nevilles and Vieira, Thierry Henry. Yeah. The list is endless. You can't just fall into.
You're talking about, talking about great players. You've got Gerrard, obviously. We talk about Gerrard, Lampard, Scholes were together. They've all had to go at management. Paul Scholes had to go at Oldham. He was just shit. He's had to go at Salford. He was just. Do you know what I mean? He's tried it. And ultimately, I think Carragher's point last week, on Monday Night Football, I think it was last week, might be the week before. You've got to suffer the bad times. Now, Scholes went through a bit of a shit time at Oldham and he just left.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Lampard's been sacked. Now, will he go back or will he go into punditry? It's an easier gig being a pundit, in it. Ferdinand and Michael Owen and all these sort of former players, top players that we used to call back, and they didn't. Now they're all telling you to pundits because it's an easy. You can say what you want without any comeback. You've got nothing to. There's no accountability as a manager. You make your decisions, and you cock up. You've got to front up the media. You've got to front up your fans. Do you know what I mean? So it's a tougher job. It's a miles tougher job being a manager. But then you're not going to get the top manager. Then are you willing to drop down the leagues to work your way up there? But it might be 5-10 years while it's in there. Proper learn the way how to manage. It's not going to be understand, have those tough times, because those tough times are what make you as a manager, not the good times. I mean, anyone can. When it's fine, it's all right. We have, we say Solskjaer's not good enough, but he's obviously had some really tough times, and he's fronted up and he's gone through it. Do you know what I mean? And how it sort of continues from here, that's not anyone's guess. But you've got to really go through those tough times. I mean, Mourinho's obviously been great. He's had those tough times. He's come back again. We talk about Pochettino. it was slightly different, to be fair, at Spurs when he had the dip, and he had a good relationship with Danny Levy. It was almost like a mutual consent when the way they left. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, I think managers and even I say top players need to go and learn their ropes and actually manage at a shit level, work their way up. Don't just get given that role. But that's not going to change. Owners ultimately decide who the managers are, not me or you, not Rooney Rule, not whatever they put in. You know, as much as they want to sort of be more inclusive with everything, it's the owners that decide. And Abramovich will pick John Terry next time. Do you know what I mean? Because he's had a bit of a go. Abramovich even came out and he said this doesn't affect Lampard's relationship with me or the club. He'll be always welcome here. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, it was the first time that he actually addressed the manager directly, wasn't it? So it shows the level of respect that he has. But you mentioned Jamie Carragher. And,
he's another one who's took the easy route, yeah.
I think, respect to him last week, where he was kind of honest. He was like, to be honest, I don't want to go and manage 6 years at Mainz. I don't want to go in low league. I would want, to go straight into there. And he also mentioned would I want Steven Gerrard as, the Liverpool manager? And I totally agreed with him when he said, no, you wouldn't want him as the Liverpool manager immediately because, this type of thing damages a reputation early on and it will potentially hurt Frank Lampard in the future. And that's why I think, he's kind of been done a little dirty. It just doesn't sync with me. Like I love Frank Lampard as a player. Didn't really like him as a manager, like the way that he came across in interviews. He seemed a little bit arrogant, a little bit ahead of where he was. But I think that he's been done over to an extent where, I talked about Solskjaer before. I don't want to anyone think that I'm treating Solskjaer any different than anyone else because he's a Man U. I think he's actually done a semi-decent job. And like you say, he has come through a hard spell with the help of his quality players. But he will, let's say he goes at the end of the season without winning anything and Man United finish fourth. He'll come out with a better reputation than what Frank Lampard would because he's been given that extra time. I just hope that this situation with Frank doesn't turn him into one of those managers where, it's the new generation of Pardew's, Redknapp, Allardyce. Is he going to go on that manager merry-go-round? Yeah. But it's a interesting to lead on to next. Where do you see him going? Why can you go from here?
I mean, what'll happen? He'll take a few weeks off. He'll get his multi-million-pound payoff from Chelsea, and then he'll end up on Monday Night Football, won't he? Isn't that the normal thing they all do? He'll end up on Sky Sports or BT Sport. Yeah, he'll be like, "Well, they'll have a laugh." I mean, it doesn't really affect them, does it? Do you know what I mean? You'll have. No. I'm a man. Should I lose a game on Saturday and I carry it for about 2 or 3 days? That's the why.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I sometimes watch these managers and the team's losing, and I'm thinking.
I honestly think
because you get paid so much even if you lose, especially if you've got an affinity, especially if you don't have an affinity to the club. I mean, Frank Lampard's obviously slightly different, but still, it's just that arrogance, like you said. The arrogance of some of his interviews were just ridiculous. I remember when he played Liverpool away and he was giving it the big one against Klopp. I'm like I don't want to say it, but you should know your place. This is a guy who's won the Premier League, Champions League. He's managed Borussia Dortmund. Like you've managed Derby, you know what I mean? So know your place, and I just felt the arrogance was just a bit uncomfortable. And
it's like going into a dressing room, like we've both been through it. I'm sure a lot of our listeners have. Even no matter what level you play at, you walk into a dressing room or any kind of walk of life, really, you show the respect to the people that passed before you. You don't just come in giving it big licks. Stand your ground by all means, but don't be going over the top. But just with regards to his next move, obviously there's an opening potentially at Newcastle, maybe Celtic. They look like they might be getting rid, or they might have got rid by now. Sheffield United maybe, but I personally don't think it'll be a good move jumping straight back in. I think maybe abroad. Could you say managing abroad?
No, and I'll tell you why. And I genuinely, I actually think, I don't know. I don't know him personally, but I actually don't think he can manage a relegation threatened Premier League team. He's not going to get a job in the top 6 team. The one job he could have got in the top 6 was Chelsea, which is had and it's finished and it's gone. It's similar to Solskjaer. He would never have got a job in the Premier League apart from Man United, just because he used to play. Same with the Lampard. Now does Lampard have it in him to drop down to the Championship? I don't know. I don't think he's comfortable in it, or does he go become a pundit? You know what I mean, with his mates. And I'm just thinking, punditry will be easier for him. You've had your go, and you're like Gary Neville's the same. He had to go at Valencia. He's obviously, you can talk a great game. You can give it the old brilliant on Twitter and stuff, but when it actually comes to it, we talk about that accountability and having a bit of care and having a bit of bottle about you.
Yeah.
All the pundits, I mean, some of them have got great opinions, some not, but that's all they are, opinions. They've never done anything as a manager, and so that's why you've always got to take whatever they say with a pinch of salt. So Lampard, I can't see him managing in the Premiership again.
You mentioned earlier about his uncle. Maybe he can get him in at West Ham.
Yeah, I mean, you say a style of, the only way I'd see he'd get it in is if he goes for a club who want a style of football. West Ham. What is the West Ham way? So you're right. I mean, West Ham's probably the only one. Again, he's a former player. That's the only one where I could probably potentially see him going. If David Moyes doesn't play as expansive football as other teams, but he's a brilliant manager. You know what I mean? And he's effective when he does his job. So yeah, potentially West Ham, but apart from, again, he's a former manager. I can't see him. But then it's like, does he have the desire to drop down a league for a couple of years, work his way up, and then come back to the Premiership? I don't know. I don't know the guy, like I said, but I think that was his one hit for the Premiership.
Yeah,
he's not done anything. He's not shown us anything as a manager to sort of show he'll be a great manager. I can't see managers honest thinking, I'd love to have him on board. So yeah, no, I don't think he'll be managing Premiership unless it's West Ham. But I think the way for him would be to drop down and obviously take a while out and then come back and sort of have another crack at it.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think he needs to take a little bit of time off. Maybe even, I think it's hard for a manager to go back to take a backward step by being an assistant to someone. Arteta probably learned quite a lot. Going with Guardiola, the ups and downs, very few downs with City, of course. But yeah, I just think he does need to take a step back, whether that be to an assistant manager role or down to the Championship. And again, like you, I can't see it happening. I think it will be a case his next management job will be at West Ham. I've got no doubt about it.
So, just to finish off, what about Thomas Tuchel then? Is he the right man?
Yeah, I would say that's a match made in heaven. He's won. He basically, this is the Chelsea way. We've got the West Ham way. This is Chelsea way. You basically get hired, win a trophy or two, fall out with Abramovich, and then just leave your tracksuit on your chair as you walk out for the next manager. I swear they don't give managers like more than one tracksuit. They just keep on passing it down to the next one. Just make sure he's a medium. Get him in. But yeah, it's just like that. That's pretty much what he's done in the past. His most recent clubs. You think of Dortmund. Obviously, they had that unfortunate incident with the it was a bomb, wasn't it, that went off, and it kind of set the wheels in motion for when I think Dortmund were playing Monaco Champions League or something like that. Yeah. It kind of signalled towards the end where he started falling out with the board at Dortmund, and then obviously went on to PSG from there. But when we talk about, and he fell out obviously with the PSG owners, and now he's where he is. Obviously, he's not a yes man, and he's kind of the opposite of what Frank is. He is time served. He's got his, he was at Mainz for a good number of years, 5-6 years, something like that. Yeah. Got them into Europe. Then Dortmund won the German Cup. And then obviously got PSG, like one title with PSG. That's nothing. Me and you would do that. But he got them further than anyone in the Champions League. Yeah. And then obviously fell out with Leonardo. Managed experienced players, bigger players than what's at Chelsea at the moment. And he's also German, which kind of is kind of handy for the two lads that he's just brought in. So I think at the moment it's a perfect sign. What about yourself?
No, yeah, you've taken the last point right off me. And I thought that obviously Havertz and Werner are the two biggest signings they brought, and getting him in, being German, do you know what I mean? There'll obviously be a connection there. I mean, we talk about, and I've heard quite a bit, he's been a PSG manager and anyone can win that. Yeah, but PSG don't hire shit managers. Anyone can win it. Who've the previous managers been? Do you know what I mean? Let's have a look at them first. They've all been top managers. So yeah, so
But
I
he's
mean, I
got to
think
the final, though. That was something, wasn't it? And
yeah,
that's
it's the
something that
furthest
no
they've
one
ever
has
had.
won.
Yeah, furthest they've ever been. So yeah, so you've obviously got. I mean, he's done well at Dortmund. He's done well there. He's obviously tactically really astute, and it's one of those you don't know how the managers. We can always guess. It'll take him a while, but then it's like, will it take him a while? Because you look at the squad. The squad's brilliant. You know what I mean?
Class players, yeah.
You look at that squad. It's unbelievably good, and you think, right, okay, what's he? But then it's like, how is he going to play? What formation is he going to play? How is he going to play the team? Will the sort of English lads get the same sort of opportunity as with Lampard? Do you know what I mean? And it's just like, I'm interested to see what his first lineup is and what formation he plays. But I think it's a better manager than Lampard. He's definitely an upgrade on Lampard. And okay, there's not an argument I've heard that'll convince me otherwise. He's a top manager, and I think he's better than Lampard. But it's a weird season, and I don't want to say this season will end up keeping them in the top four. I think they're a fair bit behind. Or are they a fair bit behind? I don't even know how far back they are.
Yeah, I think they are a little bit behind.
But it's like you can go on a run just because it's a weird season. But it's a definite upgrade on Lampard.
Yeah, it's a perfect time to come in. Like, if you ever wanted to come into a Chelsea team, it's this time. You've got in some world-class player, like world-class players, and then you think of the players that are not even in the squad. Not even in the think of the players that they've loaned out: Ross Barkley, Loftus-Cheek. They're class players on their day. You know what I mean? So them are just the reserve players to what he's got available, and I just think go on a run now, or even if he finishes where they are right now, he's going to get next season. So he's going to find out what his best team, the players that he can rely on. But I think it's also clever with Abramovich, as with all managers that come in, you start to speculate with the players that they've already had or worked with. You think of Mbappe, as he had a good relationship with Mbappe, as he had a good relationship with Neymar. We talked before about Abramovich and co. They don't care whether they're going to get 10 years out of Neymar. All they think is, I'm going to get Neymar at my club. So, potential, you might be bringing in some world-class players. You've got world-class players and you've got Neymar level.
Yeah.
And that's maybe a thought in Abramovich's mind.
The other thing as well is they're still in the Champions League. I forgot they're still in the Champions League, aren't they? So that's like
really good point.
You know what I mean? And they've obviously got, with that squad, they've got a chance. You know what I mean? And I think obviously upgrade, and it'll be interesting to see how it finishes. How it finishes for Chelsea this season. What with as it is with everything. But yeah, I think Lampard needs to go away and work his way up. And I think he's not going to get another Premiership job for me anyway. But yeah, that's our quick fire. I think it was supposed to be quick fire. It ended up being nearly half an hour. And we thought we'd do it quick 15 minutes. Lampard's got sacked. Let's get it out.
I just want to put on record that Ty's not wearing his beat in the press top today. He's always calling me out, right? So I think I better give him a bit of stick. People are going to start thinking that we've only got one top between us. We just keep sending it back forward.
Something, like, because we did the other one a couple of days ago, and I'm like, you know what? And it's in wash because I was going to stick it, and I'm like, and I can't stick it out to dry now because it'll just be frozen with the current weather. So we're having to stick it on close, and I'm sure listeners don't really care, but guys, thanks for listening. And if there is, like, as we always say, comment, just if you disagree, agree with us, anything we've said, just stick it in the comments. If you think Tuchel's going to be great, if not, if you think Abramovich is wrong this time, or if Lampard should carry on managing, or if his punditry is way, whatever, any opinion, whether we're right or wrong, just let us know. Comment underneath, and as always, like and subscribe and share. And that's all from us, guys. Cheers.
Bye.